Do you remember that great movie, Gladiator, when Russell Crowe fought against barbarians, Germanic warriors, against other gladiators, and even against the Roman Emperor?
Are you not entertained?
And what about that TV show, Barbarians, by Baren, a German production? Most of us saw it on Netflix, about how 3 Roman legions were annihilated in the year 9 in Teutoburg forest. I mean, it looks cool and all, and there are many things that can be said about the series there, which is not so historically correct. You might ask me, what does this have to do with trolls? Well, I'll tell you what, because this is how gladiators such as Spartacus in the TV series here and Roman soldiers have been depicted, and it's all wrong, and they continue to depict them wrong, like here with the Spartacus being so tiny compared to the great Roman soldiers. And although the decisive loss in Teutoburg Forest was a complete disaster and really changed a lot in European history, the answer to my question does not lie in the Iron Age, actually, although it's a very, very cool time period and very similar to the Viking Age. Now we have to go in further back in time, such as here with Brad Pitt in the movie Troy, another great movie. Because, my friends, I have to be honest with you when I say trolls are real. And please consider this to be a theory, though I am going to present some science here to back this up, so let me just see if I can convince you. And mind you, I'm not talking about these trolls, not at all, no, I'm talking about trolls that are really, really, really scary. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Trolls that turn to stone and exposed to the sun, and who have scared us a lot in our upbringing, all especially kids in Scandinavia. But also about the talented young lad here, the blonde Askeladden, and how he fools the rather stupid trolls in here an eating competition. It all amused us when we were kids. And check out these 2 cute, gullible trolls, which is, I guess, how the Norwegian tourist industry try to earn money on trolls. But I'm here to tell you something really spectacular about trolls, the myth of trolls. And again, this is a theory, alright? So bear with me now. We have to go back to the ancient gods, the Norse gods, the Aesir and Vanir, who first fought against each other, and then they fought against the Jotuns in Ragnarok. We have to go back to Heimskringla and the Edda, the Prose Edda, and the Voluspo, and all these oldest ancient writings we've got in Scandinavia. Are you surprised?
Surprise!
Yes, the Aesir and Vanir, the Norse gods and their meetings and fights and warfare against the Jotun people up the north in Scandinavia, but also how they mixed. I mean, Odin's mother even was a Jotun woman, a Ygri as we also call them. And I'll tell you also, I'm not talking about the Avengers type of Aesir and Vanir, like Loki and Thor.
Beg your pardon.
I mean, it's times just ridiculous, and I know it's meant to be humorous. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. How Heimdall and all of these characters have been portrayed.
Oh, come home. I saw you coming.
Of course you did. Ow.
No, it's these kind of trolls we're talking about. And this movie, you gotta check it out if you haven't. I mean, it's such great fun. The Troll Hunter, it's called. It's pretty damn spectacular. I want to take you far, far up north, and in order to do that, we need to understand how far north Scandinavia really is, and the people who live there, who were they really? And that's where the myth of the trolls come in. These people were seafarers 9,000 years ago, and the only reason why these people Our ancestors really far back, 10, 12,000 years ago, were able to survive and thrive this far north is because of the Gulf Stream. Okay, let's talk about some sources here. We know one saga that is really old, Hervara Saga of Heidreks, and you can read together from here. It's quite interesting. It is said that in days of yore, there was a country up north in Finnmark called Yotenheimen. Giants were widespread in the northern part of the world, but some were half giants. A great blending of peoples came out about this time, and this is what we find now in the DNA research, which makes this really, really cool. It's concerning the acid and vanir and Jotuns, as you see some here, and it's unquestionable that they mixed. We know that, but we have some sources. This is Gylfi, the first king in the north, and how he was tricked by the acid and vanir into giving up part of his lands in present-day Sweden. And I gotta show you now, because most Norwegians even don't know this, that Yotenheimen, like you see here in the beautiful mountains in the middle of Norway here, was put there in the 1870s by this man, Åsmund Vinje, because of tourism. I mean, the real Yotenheimen is up north in the land of the midnight sun, but also of darkness for several months in the winter time. It's a very, very, very special and unique place, and it was like this in the Iron Age also. Lots of exciting mammals that they could hunt up north and sell further south. And lots of iron in the ores, bog iron up in the mountains all along Norway and Sweden upwards, which was really, really special. And this is where the tall people, I'll show you now, this is where these tall people that has, perhaps, this is the theory, they're like the origin in the myth of not only the trolls, but the trolls that turned to stone because they didn't like the sun. And this is also where we have the midnight sun in the summer, yeah, but in the winter time, I mean, it's eternal darkness then for at least 3 months. This is the basis of why we can say that something has been going on in the north, and it's connected to the Scandinavian hunter-gatherers, and especially the Eastern hunter-gatherers. You see, the Eastern hunter-gatherers were tall, and they mixed both with the later Indo-Europeans, the Yamnaya, but also much, much earlier in Scandinavia with the Western hunter-gatherers, and they became the Scandinavian hunter-gatherers. I mean, these tall people of the north were advanced. They used boats even 10,000 years ago, 50 kilometers out into the open sea to hunt for seal. They had to be advanced because it was so far north, and it's such a marginal place to live. I mean, you depend on so many things just to survive and even to thrive. They thrived. They both fought and mixed much, much later in the Indo-European arrivals, like Odin's mother, Bestla, she was a Jotun, and like when Balder died, they couldn't get his burial boat out to sea, so they had to call up this giantess, this giant Ygritte woman who pushed the boat out. The story in Scandinavia is so much different from the rest of Europe when these Indo-European migrations into Europe started and changed so much, which eventually gave us the ancient Greeks, the Bronze Age, and the Roman Empire, and so on, and, of course, the Germanic tribes. And let me tell you something about the heritage which so many of us share. Because unlike in Spain and Portugal, where you had real population turnover, almost all of the men disappeared. And in the UK, almost 90% of all the men disappeared when these Indo-Europeans came and established a sort of like new world order. But not in Scandinavia. From there, Scandinavians have, throughout the Bronze Age and the Iron Age and the Viking Age, migrated en masse out of Scandinavia. I mean, they were called Germanic warriors and Germanic groups or tribes, but they're really Scandinavian groups of peoples, migrating out in all directions. Not only southwards during the Iron Age, but also eastward and everywhere the Vikings went. This is the genetic heritage for all Europeans and their descendants. In the Bronze Age, we had a lot to trade, but as we got self-sufficient with iron, well, the first ones went out were the Cimbri Teutoni, and boy did they fight against the Romans. And some claim that their children and grandchildren were in fact among Spartacus' gladiators, and maybe even Spartacus himself. So I guess you realize by now what this actually means if you buy into this theory. Troll genes from Scandinavia have spread out in all directions. Somebody should make a song about that. We're all related to trolls, especially if you got ancestry going back to Vikings or the Germanic warriors, the so-called Germanic warriors anyway, meaning Anglo-Saxons, Scottish and Irish clans, Normans, Franks, Germans, Lombards, Slavic peoples, Polish peoples, and of course the Rus Vikings, both in Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. So I suggest go and see Troy again and think about this.
Is there no one else?
The word Jotun, which even today in Sweden means giant, is the same word as Tolkien's Ent in his writings, meaning to eat a lot, which I guess is pretty meaningful when it comes to these Jotuns of the north. This ancestry is truly something special, since we've all mixed so much. We're all sons of Heimdall, which means Europeans or humanity. I'll leave you there now. With all that's going around in the world, I think it's nice to remember our heritage and that we're all part of the brotherhood of man. Take care, everyone, in these dire times.